This is the Book of Antitheses for Lamentations, from Lamentations of the Flame Princess. And it's an odd one, even by Lamentation standards, but it's interesting. So this is half GM advice on how to run the adventure, or how to run adventures in general. And the other half is an adventure that can only be run if you're using the advice in the book. And I think in combination, it's actually quite remarkable. But let me start getting into detail by reading one of the lines later in the book. Alright, here it is. Most adventures follow a fairly basic formula. You start with a short history, followed by a number of maps with keyed lists of locations. There may even be a couple handouts on appendix of new monsters. If this is the sort of product you're looking for, I suggest you put this book back on the shelf. There's no shortage of printed products of this sort written by toy company executives masquerading as tabletop game designers. You know the ones I mean, the sad vampires, bankrupt of ideas, that repackage the plotlines from 40-year-old adventures written by truly original game designers with unique voices. After they are done hammering the text down to an 8th grade reading level and passing it through a marketing focus group, the adventure's bloodless corpse is painted up like a two-penny war with soulless digital artwork. Close this book now and be careful the cover does not hit your ass on the way out. So this is not a product that Hasbro could ever put out. This is the sort of book that during the satanic panic parents thought that children were getting with D&D. This book is meant as a portal to another world. It is both an off-game item, this item, and it is a plot-relevant in-game item, and it is literally a portal into another world. So you can see there's a hole in the cover, and one of the mechanics of the in-game item is that you can pass objects from anywhere through that portal if you do the right incantations, the right spells, even from the real world. So anything that fits through this hole, your characters can get in-game. Something small like this lighter, not a problem. And the book says that during playtesting, one of the players actually got a 22 barrel-over-barrel Derringer through that hole. Which in a Lamentations game wouldn't be too powerful an item. Certainly useful, especially if you need a bit of ammunition in a pinch. So I'm not even going to open this book and show the inside of this book as I'm doing with my other book reviews, because that might get me banned from YouTube. It's that kind of explicit and weird. The first part of the book, the GM advice, is written as an introduction to actual magic. So there are spells in there, rituals in there. It talks about astral projection and cleansing and divination practices. And while I'm not personally into any of that stuff, it was an interesting read, and it reinforced a few points about human psychology that I already knew to be true, but here I'm hearing it through another perspective, through this satanistic black magic perspective that the book is using. For example, it uses astral travel as a method to enhance your imagination and your ability to picture things in your mind. And I can see if you're doing this regularly, you will get much clearer images of what it is you're imagining. And at some point, it may feel like you're actually going there, or at least in a dream-like sense. So what ritual does? So a set of reoccurring practices, a fixed set of just things you do before you do something else, when you do something else. This set of things, this activity, this ritual will tell your mind that it is now time to do whatever you're doing after the ritual. That could be something very mundane. If you are brushing your teeth every time before you go to bed, then after a few years, your brain will know that after you've brushed your teeth, it is ready to go to bed and will be easier to fall asleep. And here, this practice of ritual is used in two ways. One way is for you as a GM. Before you start writing and preparing for an adventure, you do your little ritual, your little astral travel, and that will put your mind in a place where it can be creative and where it is focused on the task you have set out to do. The other ritual that is used is a pre-game ritual. So in this book, this is a short sermon involving all of the players, and you're reciting a spell together, and it's a bit much if you ask me. And if I think about, I already have a pre-game ritual I'm doing every time. So once we've gathered around the table or on Discord and we've talked for half an hour, maybe an hour about everyday stuff, so that is out of the way and won't distract us from the game, then at some point I will put on the music and do a recount of the events of the previous game. And then I will describe where the character's at and ask them, what do you want to do? And at that point, everyone is listening, everyone is focused, everyone is in the game. Because it's always the same ritual. It's setting the mood. It focuses your attention on what you've set out to do. For certain games, I even always used the exact same song. And I think that is a very effective method to get your whole group to focus and start a game. Now, what this Book of Antitheses suggests is quite a bit more elaborate and out there, but I think it will be very effective if your players can take it seriously and don't just laugh themselves out of the room. Another thing in here are methods of divination. So they're basically throwing bones, throwing runes, throwing anything, and then interpreting what that throw means. So they describe how you have tokens for your players, you have tokens for fortune and danger, you've got tokens for your most important NPCs, and then you throw that all on the ground or on a sheet on the table. And then by the positioning of the different tokens, you deviate what events should transpire in the shadow world. But really what that does, it gets your imagination going when you are stuck. I've spoken before about the use of tarot cards for the same purpose. So you can see this throwing of the bones to actually work pretty well for the same purpose. Or rolling on random tables, really. In all of these methods, this ritual, astral travel, divination, all of the spell, all of the atmosphere that it will bring to the table and the place of mind this will get you and your players in, I think will make the adventure very remarkable. It is set in Germany during the 30-year War, and it starts quite mundane with the PCs hired to find the lost child of a local noble, and from there it becomes weirder until finally the showdown happens at the literal gates of hell. So this is a plot that involves witches and demons and a portal between worlds, the Book of Antitheses that you need to hopefully close the gates to hell. And while you have a map and descriptions of important places and characters, it doesn't really have a set plot. It has a recount of one plot that emerged from this adventure, one group of players, but really it's a very open setting. You can make of it whatever you want to make, or what the demons in your head tell you to do, and whatever the players come up with. So instead of a timeline of events, you've got certain story prompts you can use, or just pictures you're encouraged to look at to get ideas what might happen at the location. It encourages you heavily to use this astral projection, this deviation method to create the plot, to see what will happen and run with that. And since this is a very occult setting with devils, with demon worshipping, with witches and the literal gates of hell, I think if you're doing all this satanic magic ritual before every gaming session to really set the mood, this will be a remarkable adventure that your group will remember for a long time. Though be warned, I will not be held accountable for any literal demon summoning you might accidentally do. So yeah, Book of Antitheses, or Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Very out there, but very interesting GM advice and adventure model. So, do you have a kind of ritual you do before every gaming session to set the mood? And then you astral travel to Faerun or where else? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, consider liking it down below and subscribing to my channel. It helps the channel out. Thanks for watching and goodbye.